All right, guys, we are back. Brand new episode of MMA Past, Present, and Future. We have an absolute loaded lineup. This is being brought to you by Sherdog Podcast Network and the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network. I am your host. My name is Keith Shillan. Let me get to the very first guest. You can already see him on screen. This guy's a multi-time Pancrase champion. He's a former Strikeforce champion, former UFC title challenger, one of the greatest middleweights in the history of the sport. He's Nate the Great Marquardt. Nate, how you doing, man?
Oh, good, man. Good to thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So I got to get right to it. I see in the background you got Sanford MMA right over your shoulder. How'd you end up out there, man?
Oh, man, it's kind of a crazy story. We basically were planning on moving to Thailand because I'm making a comeback, and I wanted a different look for, I wanted to revamp my whole training. And I went out there to Tiger Muay Thai and loved it. We sold our house last April. We were planning on moving out there a month later. We had tickets, and because of COVID, the borders got closed. They were closed. Basically, we changed our tickets 5-6 times, and the border kept getting closed each time. So we kind of bounced around. We were in Las Vegas. We were in Arizona, back in Colorado. We were in Texas, and decided to come out here. This is I've always wanted to train with Henry, and so we packed up, came out here, decided I loved it, and basically we rented a place, so we've officially moved out here.
Yeah. And it's always good to be out in Florida, beautiful weather. You're with one of the top teams in the entire world. Some people would actually probably put it number one. Absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't do it justice if I started naming some of the fighters, because I would probably forget somebody, and it'd be like a title challenger or something. And but let's get right into it. You mentioned you're making a comeback. It's been quite a while since we last saw you. Why a comeback? I mean, you're 41. I know you have a family. Like, why do you want to come back?
Yeah, I mean, there's really only one reason, and that's because God's basically directed me to do that. And I know it kind of sounds crazy, especially, non-believers aren't going to laugh or whatever, but basically he spoke to me in a dream, and when I retired, I was perfectly happy with retiring. I was still in the gym because I love training. I love, being healthy and being around the guys, working out and stuff like that. But I was perfectly happy. I had no need to compete. And soon after, I had this dream, and God confirmed it with 3 other people telling me the same thing later on that week. And so it kind of planted that seed in my heart to come back. And I stayed in the gym for the whole time, but never really, I was in school. I went through seminaries. I got my master's in theological studies, and
wow, congratulations!
When I finished that, yeah, thank you. Yeah, when I finished, I was kind of like, well, I guess I need to do something, because nothing's, nobody's calling me for a fight. So I guess I gotta, get in shape, get in top shape, and I knew I had to get back to training twice a day and full time and around the best fighters. So that was the plan, and here I am.
Yeah, no, of course. So you said you had a dream. Can you give a little detail on the dream? Like you said, were you fighting, or what was going on in the dream?
Yeah, I mean, it's really a long story actually, but it's basically something that happened when I got saved. I saw like a vision of a belt, and so I assumed that meant like I was going to be a champion, because actually when I got saved, I realized how my career had become my false idol, and I was serving only myself, really. I was just everything was selfish about my life, and on top of it, I had anger and lust in my heart that I didn't want it there, but it was just like it was there. I couldn't get rid of it.
Sure.
And really, the problem was I hadn't surrendered my life to the Lord, and so basically, a bunch of things happened, and I got saved. saw, and I was going to retire. This was back in 2013, and I was like, I don't want to fight anymore because that was my false idol. I'm just going to go another route and serve the Lord. And right then I had a vision, like pretty much right after I said that. And so, my career went on from there. I had, my next fight was a loss, and I was kind of like, well, I don't know. I still think the vision was from God, and I kept fighting, and my career definitely was rocky towards the end. My last 3 fights in the UFC was 3 decision losses. They were close fights.
Sure.
One of them was split decision, and basically, yeah, my career went that way, and figured I must have misunderstood what the vision meant. And well, yeah, so that's what I mean. It's a long story, but anyway, in the dream, basically it was like I was walking outside, and it was when in the Bible God spoke to Abraham and told him to count the stars, and then God promised him descendants as the stars, and I was walking with someone, and he said, do you remember Abraham's promise? And I said, oh yeah. And I said, and actually his promise was fulfilled spiritually in Jesus Christ, like that all nations are blessed through him, and that we are children of Abraham, those who have faith through Jesus. And he said, okay, what about your promise? And I knew he meant like the vision I had. And I said, well, actually, I'd rather be a spiritual champion than have a worldly title. And he said, well, I'm going to give you both. And right then I was like, I was dreaming up to this point, but then suddenly my mind was aware that I was dreaming. I was like, who am I talking to? Is this? So I said, how will I know this isn't a normal dream? And he said, I'll confirm it. And suddenly I woke up, and I was like waiting for something to happen because I didn't know what that meant. I'll confirm it. Well, then I talked to my wife, told her the dream, and she said, well, okay, well, we don't have to do anything. We'll just wait. And sure enough, I went to a prayer meeting later that week, and 3 people came up to me separately, individually. They didn't hear what the other people said, and 2 of them were strangers that didn't know I was a fighter, didn't know what wrestling is or anything, and basically told me that God wants me to keep fighting. And so I was shocked, and then later, even in that year, I had other people confirm it as well.
So there's a lot to unwrap there, man. There's a lot to unwrap. So let me ask you this. So obviously you mentioned Abraham. We talked off here. I'm a man of faith myself. I'm not going to get too much into this, but Abraham had tons of doubters. Obviously, you're going to be
right?
You're going to be in the same situation. You're 41 years old. You haven't won a fight in over 4 years. I mean, and you're absolutely right. The 3 fights you had, then they were all close. But you're not just talking about making a comeback and fighting on a Bellator prelim or something. You're talking about being a world champion again, like at 41 years old. And I'm not trying to be difficult and doubt you, but
I understand.
There's going to be
You're exactly right. You're exactly right.
What do you say to those people?
If I wasn't the one experiencing it, I would probably laugh, and even being a Christian, I'd be like, I don't know. It sounds kind of unbelievable.
So what do you say to those people? Because I'm sure you probably already have faced some doubters. What do you say to these people?
Well, I mean, honestly, this is definitely the first time I've really come out in public. I've talked to like Christian organizations or like men's groups and things and kind of told them the story, but this is the first time I've said anything publicly about with the details of the dream. And so, I mean, it's to be expected. I mean, like you said, Abraham, he changed his name it was Abram, and he changed it to Abraham, which means father of many nations. So this is a guy who was like 75 and older. He didn't have Isaac till he was 100 years old. And and so I'm sure a lot of people made fun of him. Yeah, Abraham. Okay. And his wife's 90 years old. It's like, okay, you're going to have lots of descendants, I'm sure. So, but yeah, that's it. I mean, that's faith is believing God's word, believing His promise, without seeing, in fact, in the face of what our worldly standards or our worldly wisdom, because our wisdom would say, no, you can't have a son at that age, and no, you're too old to be a world champion. You haven't fought for 3.5 years, and so yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into it. You've won a Pancrase title 3 times. I think it was 3 times, correct? A lot of the newer listeners and watchers of this one might not understand how prestigious that was at the time. You also was a Strikeforce champion. A lot of people might, American fans might know a little bit more how prestigious that was. The only major title that, organization that you fought in that you didn't was the UFC. Is the plan to get back with the UFC, or is there other, could it be a Bellator? Could it be a one championship? Is there any talks anywhere else?
Yeah, that's funny. The plan. Yeah, I wish I knew the plan.
Sure.
I don't have a plan. I'm just out here training, like I said, in faith, knowing that I'm going to have a fight at some point. I don't know when. I don't know if it did it. Pause. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so I don't know when I'm going to fight. It might not be for a while still, but I'm here training with the guys, and I love the guys out here, man. The guys at Sanford are awesome fighters, awesome people. I mean, there's a lot of good guys here. Everybody here on the team is good character, good guys, good coaches. Yeah. Everybody, we love everyone here. And very happy to be here.
When you were retired and you thought back at your career, did it feel incomplete without that UFC title?
What? Like I said, before I got saved, yeah, it was like that was the thing.
Sure.
That was everything to me. Is like, I mean, my family was there too, but and I always I always prioritize my family as well. But
of course,
the career really became the thing in my heart that was separating me from what really my true identity is, which is God's child. And I saw myself as the UFC fighter rather than who I really am, and so now I mean, it's definitely, I'm still competitive, and
of course,
for sure. I mean, that would be awesome, but I really could not care less to be honest.
So this show is called MMA Past, Present, Future. So we talk a lot of the past. So let's go back. I want to rewind a little bit. You said, before you got saved, and some people might not understand what that means. What that means as a Christian, that means having a personal relationship with Jesus. So before that, when you were so close, you made it all the way to the title. You fought Anderson Silva. Some people will say the greatest fighter of all time. You were in that moment. You had early success. How hard was it to be that close, having that idol that you were trying to reach and come short? Like you say you don't care now, but how much did it mean then?
Yeah, I mean, it crushed me. It's like that's one of the problems in this life is when you have something false as your idol, like you said. Like if that's what I'm seeing as my identity or my value or my purpose in life is to become this champion, and then if it doesn't happen, it's like devastating. You either are crushed and you hit rock bottom, or you just switch and try to find some other kind of false idol to to chase after. Yeah. And then the other thing is, like, once you attain that thing, you kind of realize, oh, actually this isn't, there's got to be something else, because it's not what I expected. So
you hear that a lot.
Idols,
sorry to interrupt you. You hear that a lot with Olympic athletes. They train their whole life for a moment. They make that moment, and then, like, now what? My whole life has been to get this gold medal or get this world record or whatever, and then they accomplish it, and it's like, well, there's the 22 years of my life. Now what? I kind of understand where you're coming, not from an athlete sense, but just, talking to other athletes and sustaining it. I remember I interviewed Robert Whitaker once, and he's like, yeah, I won the title. And I'm like, still dad. I still get up there. My kids still run around the house crazy. They don't behave better because I'm champ now. So,
Yeah.
we talked about getting so close and coming short, but you've had some amazing moments in MMA. Is there one that you really cherish more than all the rest?
I mean, I don't know. I had a lot of really good moments that were fun, but I mean, to be honest, my favorite part of MMA is the training. I love training.
Sure.
I know a lot of guys, they love to fight, but I'm different. I mean, I like fighting too. Obviously, that's why I started. But I love training. I love pushing myself and being competitive every day. And even the hard part, really, once you come through it, it's kind of you feel like you've accomplished or overcome. And it's a journey.
So. The one thing that stood out to me, I think Nate Marquardt, the first thing I think of was one of the greatest knockouts I've ever seen, the knockout of David Maia. That's the first one that jumps out. Obviously, he's a legendary fighter. You had that moment. But then I started thinking about, you've fought so many of the top names in the sport. You had a lot of wins over some of the top names. But then you also, there's a couple guys that you haven't fought. Dan Henderson, Michael Bisping, Rich Frank, all these guys that were right there. You were in the same weight class, same time. Is there one of those guys that you wish man, I would have, if I faced this guy, I would have beat him, or I respect this guy, I would have loved to share the cage room. Is there one guy that you kind of wish you had a chance?
Yeah, I mean, actually, all three of those guys you mentioned, I wanted to fight at some point, and actually, I was asked to fight Bisping and was looking forward to it, but the date wouldn't work out basically, and I mean, all those guys are top fighters, and I would have loved to have fought them.
Yeah. So let's talk about now. So you said you don't know what the plan is, but ideally, if someone came to you, do you want to jump right in, top 10 guy? Is it hey, let me get on a prelim and fight, someone a little lower down the rankings? What's the ultimate, what would you, I know you said you don't know the plan, but say the plan was given to you and you could write the plan, what would you do?
Well, I mean, I talked to Lex, my manager, Lex McMahon.
Yeah.
I talked to him yesterday. I had lunch with him, and he just recently kind of reached out again to all the organizations, and basically he said, it's not looking good right now because a big part of it is because of COVID, because there's so many fighters under contract that need fights that haven't had their fights because of what happened last year, and so they basically don't want new fighters right now. And of course, then I'm dealing with also the age and things like that. So, I mean, ideally, honestly, I think it's going to work out just like it's supposed to. And what if I had to guess, I would think that. I mean, I guess I kind of have a feeling too that this will happen. That at some point, Lex is going to get a call for a last-minute fight. That some one of the main card fights or main event or whatever fell out, and they need somebody, and they're not able to get anyone. And I'm going to be in shape because I'm training every day here. So.
Yeah. So you mentioned you're training every day. I want to pick it back off that. Sanford MMA. First name that I think of, you're a welterweight. The welterweight champion is in the same room. And the UFC welterweight champion, I should say, is in the same room. Kamaru Usman. Let me ask you this question, because you were one of these guys that you've kind of had your foot in both eras. You had your foot in the George St. Pierre era. Now you had your foot in the Kamaru Usman era. Kamaru Usman's his place in history after his last fight, to me, has really changed. It was, can he be one of the greats, to, wait a minute, is he in that George St. Pierre level yet? So obviously I'm sure you're very complimented. He's now your teammate. What does he have to do? Is he right there with George St. Pierre? Is it 1 or 2 wins away? What do you think?
Well, so honestly, when I got here in December. Okay. And so he was already scheduled to fight Gilbert, and he had already moved.
Oh, he moved. What am I talking about?
In Colorado.
That's right.
Yeah,
I apologize. Yeah.
No, but he actually was in the gym the other day.
Okay.
And I didn't get a chance to say hi to him, but yeah. So I don't know what his plan is if he's coming back. But I was able to train with Gilbert leading up to that fight.
Sure.
And so your question was like, what does he compare to GSP? And I mean, I can really only answer because I haven't trained with him, but I can, and I have trained with George, but if I just judge technically by watching their fights, I mean, they're both amazing champions, but I think he's got a ways to go to be on the same level as George, because Kamaru has the wrestling pedigree, but George is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. I don't know what Kamaru is, but I don't know. And not only that, like the striking ability of George is on a higher level. I can guarantee that. Now, I'm not saying that how the fight would go. I'm just saying technically in each area, I know George's wrestling. He's able to take down Koscheck and top level wrestlers in a fight, and he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and I've rolled with him. I know he's top level on the ground. And then striking wise also, I know he's top level. We've sparred together with top level boxers and kickboxers, and not only that, but George is dynamic. He's able to use all kinds of kicks, knees, his jab, right? They both have excellent jabs, and but I would say I would say George has a more diverse style. He's a lot more dynamic, I guess. Sure. So no,
I'm gonna get absolutely murdered for forgetting that he left the team, especially when he fought his especially when he fought his teammate. So let me ask you that. So you've been in there with Gilbert. Now I will never ask should it be spoken. How did you do against Gilbert? But you won, you lost. But like you got the rounds in with him. Like, do you feel like this guy was extremely close from winning the title, being considered the best guy in the world. Like, did you feel competitive against him where you feel like you're still one of the top guys?
Well, yeah, I mean, so here's like when I first got here, last year I had trained off and on two-a-days, but most of the year I wasn't able to just because of our traveling and things like that. So I got here and basically jumped right into two-a-days. And man, for like a few weeks, it was tough. I was doubting myself, and I was like, man, I don't know how I'm ever going to be able to do this. I could feel good in one or two practices, and then the rest of the week, I'm just like shot.
Yeah.
But my body was able to adapt and definitely. I mean, it's not just Gilbert. It's like there's a ton of top level guys.
Oh
here.
yeah.
And every one of them has at least one, if not multiple, things that make them special. Whether it's strength or speed or skill, and or toughness or cardio, right? All these things.
Yeah, sure.
And so, like I said, it's not just Gilbert.
Yeah,
Matter. It didn't matter who I went with, but now I definitely feel. I definitely starting to feel like my old self when I was younger.
So you also have tons of experience. You're one of the, I wouldn't say a pioneer because, I think of like Ken Shamrocks, those guys. But you were like that next. You were in that era where MMA really started to blow up in popularity. You, George St. Pierre, Anderson Silva, like Forrest Griffin, like that era. You were part of that. I think you headlined the very first fight night, if I'm correct, right?
On Spy TV.
Yeah. So you've felt the ups and downs. What kind of knowledge do you share with these young guys now that you're part of this team?
Well, it's I think for sure experience, right, is just kind of knowing different little things that maybe even someone who understands the technique won't understand. Maybe training tips or diet or life situation, things like that. But definitely what I've noticed is that just the basics, man, it's what it comes down to really in any sport is basics and helping them out with basics when I see. And honestly, like, they're able to help me out with basics because just watching me and saying, like the other day, Robbie Lawler was in here and he was complimenting me after sparring because he was watching my rounds, and he's like, he gives me a drill and he just says, hey, you need to do this because your feet are a little behind. And I mean, that's when I was working with Trevor Whitman, that's really all he did with me was work on basics. And
sure,
if my basics are tight, then the sky's the limit. So
yeah. Unfortunately, I felt like we just got started, but we actually ran out of time. I want to ask you one more question before you go, and I appreciate the time. When you do decide to finally hang it up, what do you want your legacy to be? Like, what do you want, 20 years from now, people to say about Nate Marquardt?
Man, that's a good question. That's kind of like when I die, I don't want people, like, the thing I want people to remember is that I love Jesus and that I wanted to point them to Jesus, because that's the most important thing, because he's the only way to be saved, and he's everything to me, and he's God's real, and like he'll change your life, he'll change your heart, he'll take the evil out of your heart and change you, and he'll heal your family. He's everything, man. And so I don't really care about people remembering me other than that I was pointing them to Jesus, being a witness.
There you go. That is Nate Marquardt, guys. He's making his comeback. He didn't give us the details, but I promise you guys, I'm gonna work on him. I'm gonna keep bothering him until he gives me the details. Nate, listen, good luck to you. Congratulations for coming back. I wish you all the good luck. We'll be right back. Our next guest fights this weekend, taking on Angela Hill. It's Ashley Yoder. Stick around, guys. All right, guys, we're in the second segment. Before I get to my next guest, I want to thank Nate Marquardt, who kind of surprised us by mentioning that maybe he shouldn't be in the past segment as he's coming back, and maybe I should put him in the future because he's talking about fights coming up in the future. But now we get into the present segment. As you already see on the screen, I have a UFC strawweight. She returns this Saturday at UFC Vegas 21 when she takes on a familiar face and Angela Hill. She, of course, is Ashley Yoder. Ashley, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so I know you got a busy week. Obviously, it's fight week. You just talked to me off air. You said you're getting your medicals done, doing all that nonsense. Let me ask you a question. So, first of all, you were supposed to fight just 2 weeks ago against Angela Hill. Your cornerman got COVID. That's what, they got pulled the day of the fight. First of all, you don't have to tell me who it was, but is that person doing okay?
Yeah, actually, we believe it was a false positive. So,
okay.
And the same person, including myself, we've all been tested again since then. We were all negative, including the person that tested positive has been tested twice and both negative. So Good. We do believe he wasn't sick. He wasn't feeling any way. And I'm around him every day. So, the UFC decided, because I've never tested positive before, that I'm a high risk. So they went ahead and pulled that, which was kind of crazy because at weigh-ins I was talking about Chad Skelly's fight where he was in the octagon. His opponent didn't come.
Oh, yeah.
He canceled the bout. And I'm like, listen, if I make weight, I'm going to fight somebody. And then sure enough, when they told me it was pulled, I thought they were joking. I'm like, no, man, this is not real. Like,
yeah.
He's fine. Like, you got to retest him. And then they're like, no, we can't. So I went from a 7-day notice fight to now a 3 weeks. So still short notice, but we both made the weight like champs, and I think it's going to even make for a better fight. The anticipation's building, so
sure,
it's going to be fun.
So let's get to it. Now, you said, you were excited to fight. You took the fight. You took it on 7 days notice, which is, Angela's known for that. Angela's known for the girl who wants to stay busy, have the quick turnaround. Instead, it was your turn. Like both you guys took the role, but it was your turn to kind of have this really quick. And I know you've done it. I think you said your UFC debut. You also had a really short notice fight. But how frustrating is it? Because most people never have to be in the predicament you are, where not only did you do all the media stuff, you did all the medical stuff, you made weight, which has got to be the worst. But I don't know how you do it. I don't know if you're a sauna one, if you're the bath girl, whatever it is. To do all that stuff, and then I think it was the day of the fight, right? It was that morning.
Yeah.
Like it was, or not even. I think it was like afternoon when it broke, like a couple hours before. Like how frustrating! You're starting to get in that fight, the fighter mentality of. To fight someone and then to tell you like, nope, it's not happening. Like, how frustrating was that?
It was it was a surreal moment because I didn't believe that would ever happen to me. Like, you hear stories, right? And you're like, nah, that's not real. It's not really going to happen. And it did. And yeah, I had to do, since it's a new calendar year, we had to do all our medicals. So even though we had you might have had medicals done. I just fought in November. I had to do all my medicals in 7 days, including an MRI, MRA, all these things, right? And I was going into interviews with my eyes dilated because I just came from the eye doctor and I looked like a crackhead. I was like trying to it was like the most intense fight week of my life.
Yeah.
But hey, we got those out of the way. We only had a couple more, the corona tests, pregnancy tests, those kind of things, but that's normal, right? So most of my medicals were pretty much done now. So that's a little bit weight off your shoulders. But yeah, no, it was such a crazy experience in a 7-day span to wake up. My hair's braided. I'm ready to go to, I'm ready to fight. I literally just ordered my breakfast. USADA came to drug test me, and I get the phone call. And USADA's in my room when I get the phone call, and she got real weird real quick. Because, none of us knew. I got my test back that said, hey, you're clear, you're good to train. My other coach got his test back, you're clear, you're good to train. And then someone called my phone and asked to talk to one of my other corners. And they're like, hey, and I just see his face kind of go blank. And then the USADA, so I'm like, we're talking about in front of this USADA lady. And she just starts backing out of the room.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh. Stay away. It got so weird so quickly. It was such a weird experience, but yeah, so we're all healthy though. We believe it was a false positive, and yeah, we're ready to get back in there. So,
obviously it sucks, but at least for you had the advantage that they actually called you. There's been fighters who've had their fights get canceled. They find out on Twitter, because some media member already broke it. Like, at least you got the right way. You were told by the officials.
Yeah, for sure. That would be. Yeah, I had to actually have a phone call with a doctor and my matchmaker to discuss, the protocols on what's going to happen. So that's when it really sunk in, oh shit, this isn't going to happen. And it was I literally can only explain it of getting stabbed in the stomach. You have all the nerves from fight day. You're kind of pumped. You're all the hard work was done of making the weight. And then, yeah, it was a really shitty day, honestly. So,
yeah.
But they called me and they were like, hey, even by the time it was canceled, they already rescheduled us. So it's sign me up. 2 weeks, here we come.
Yeah. So now it's a 3-week notice. Obviously it sucks that you have your fight canceled, but are you taking it as a positive? Now you have 3 weeks to kind of prepare for instead of the 7 days?
Yeah, it's definitely, we were ready. I wouldn't have took a fight if I wasn't ready, So one of the biggest things is if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And I truly believe that we were in a place that you don't have all those nerves for the months building up to the fight of overthinking, injuries and overthinking, overtraining, or just, your opponent in general. So it takes a lot of weight off your shoulders on short notice. I like it. So I'm excited. It's still a short notice,
Sure. Yeah, it is.
3 weeks. 3 weeks is a short notice. Really, I don't even know what to call this because we made weight already. So who knows? It is what it is. But yeah, I'm excited.
Any worry about having to make weight twice, like that your body might make it a little tougher?
No, so when I got into the UFC, I fought a week prior and made weight for Invicta. So
okay.
I had Invicta and the UFC back to back like this. So a little bit different scenarios, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah. So let's talk about, you faced her one time before. You said that you believe she won. There wasn't any controversy. What stylistic changes have you made to win this time? Because I'm assuming you wouldn't have taken the fight if you didn't think you could beat her.
Yeah, no, I just think it's been 4 years. I've grown a lot in my wrestling. I've grown a lot in my striking. My ground's on another level. And, she's grown too. So I think it's going to be a really test on how much I've grown, right? So
sure.
We both had the same time of getting better at the highest level. And I think that we've both made so many gains in so many ways that it's going to be a fun fight. And it's really just going to show me how much I've grown since that first fight.
Yeah. So I just watched the interviews you guys did a couple weeks ago. and the pre-media day interviews, and I watched Angela's, and the thing that jumped out to me, now obviously she was very complimentary, you both were very complimentary of each other, but she did actually one of the longest interviews during media day, and majority of the stuff she was asked about was everything but you. And in fairness to her, she's not asking her own questions, but she's talking about beefs with Tisha Torres, she's talking about new training tips, she's talking about being in the top 10 rankings, she's talking about that. Do you think that she might be looking past you, considering she already has a win on you?
I'm sure. Why would she not? And she was supposed to. One of the things with the Tisha, I don't know if she's looking past me in the fact that she was supposed to fight Tisha, and that fight fell through because of COVID, and Tisha wouldn't take that fight again. So you can't be mad at, or you can't blame someone or think they're looking over someone just because that fight was already supposed to happen. This fight it's a win-win for me because I'm not ranked.
Sure.
I've already lost to her. I'm taking on a last minute. I get more experience, win, lose, or draw. I'm coming to fight. So there's nothing that you could tell me or watch interviews of her that is going to differ from what my game plan was already.
Sure.
I'm confident in my growth, and it's going to really show in this fight. I'm pretty sure. I'm 100% sure. Not even pretty.
Yeah. So you were very complimentary of her. You talked about how much of you like her as a person. She was saying basically the same thing. It seemed like you guys are homies. Mm-hmm. That and that's, to me, it's a lot of refreshing. You get I like the beef. That's always fun. That's good on Twitter. But then it's also refreshing to have people be complimentary. But is there a point where you can like someone too much where it can be a negative thing, it can affect the fight?
No, absolutely not. I feel like you have to respect your opponents, and I'm one of these people that you'll never hear me talk shit about anyone unless they're talking shit about me, and I know that they're being fake. So
Sure.
I will call you out on your shit, but this is a sport for technique. This isn't the WWE where we have to have fake beefs just to go in there and compete at the highest level. I put my blood, sweat, and tears on the mat so I can go out there and perform, not talk shit. So it's all about my skill levels, and it's not about what's coming out of my mouth, because I promise you my skill's going to come out and my techniques in the fight, and the words are not going to matter at that point. So
yeah. One thing you mentioned during the interview that stood out to me, you mentioned about being exciting, and the reason why you're in the UFC is because you put on exciting fights, which obviously that's number one thing, is putting on exciting fights, having people want to watch you fight, because while it's a sport, it's also entertainment to people sitting on the couches. But you talked about, you win one, you lose one, you win one. What do you think you have to do to be more consistent? So not only can you put on fun fights, but you can go on one of these big, long winning streaks. And you said, get yourself in the rankings and up to, higher up the scale. What do you think you got to do?
Yeah, I think it's just been really an internship for me, learning on the job, right? So I'm at the highest level, and I have not the experience of most of these people that I'm competing against. But, that's where I think my heart comes in, and, the talent and training that I've had in the 10 years that, I've really been focusing every single day on getting better is where that saves me. And it's just learning, I can get a finish, it's just, point fighting's different when people can win on point fighting and understand that. I have to go in and understand that just because I can take a punch to give one, is not necessarily the smartest thing. I think I've proven how tough I am over the years, and it's not necessarily, I thought maybe that would be the road to go, and it's not. We all know I can take a punch, I can take an elbow. I've been elbowed in spinning back elbows, everything, kicked in the face, knees in the face, and come out with really cool battle scars. But I'm starting to learn that it's more important to get in there and not show how tough you are. We already know I'm durable, and just getting to where I need to be successful, and that's where I think is going to get me on that winning streak. So
yeah. So let me ask this. So me and Ben Duffy, we do a recap show after our event, and one thing we end the show, we do a thing we call Bulls and the Bears, and it's a stock market reference where people whose stock is on the rise, people whose stock's on the decline. And one thing I usually always do, me and Ben both do, is I'll find a fighter that has really impressed me since their last fight, and I'll say, oh wow, insert fighter's name. I was so impressed with this. No, their wrestling grew so much, or their striking, or this new pace. When next, after the event, and you're on my list, what am I going to say? Is it going to be, wow, Ashley's what has improved so much since her last fight? What's the one thing that I'm going to be most impressed by?
I mean, all around, man. I train. I'm an MMA fighter. I'm not Muay Thai. I'm not just a jiu-jitsu girl. I'm not just a brawler. I'm not just a wrestler. I am MMA, and I'm gonna show you that like I can get in there and do what I have to do, stay confident, and get someone that I know is a high-level striker, and get to where I want to be. So all around, I go everything, every single fight. And there's sometimes that things don't get tied together exactly how you want them. Sometimes my striking looks a little bit more crisp than my wrestling, but I'm training everything at the same time. And I just really think that this performance is going to bring everything together. I really, truly believe this. Like, I feel good about this fight,
Sure.
and I'm really pumped about getting back in there and showing the new growth that I have, because we're always working everything, and you can only get better when you're really focused on training and learning. So.
Yeah. Last question I asked, and I asked to anybody who's about to fight. I'm going to hold you to this one, all right? You said in your last interview a couple weeks ago that when they asked for a prediction, you said, the spider monkey's going to come out. But I want to know, like, how do you win it? Like, if I have a big wad of cash, I'm at the sports book in Vegas, and I want to be rich. I'm putting Ashley Yoder wins by what?
Well, you're never going to get that answer out of me, because I never put that on. Any interview, someone asks me how I'm going to win, what my strategy is, we have the same stylistic. You look at all my fight, it's very grappling, very to the ground type stuff. But I'm not going to put that karma on me saying that I'm going to get a certain finish. And, I get in that position, like I said, when I was supposed to fight last week, that I was going to fight and I ended up not fighting. So we're not going to put that karma out there. But, yeah, man, I truly believe, my teammates truly believe in my skill sets on the ground. They truly believe in my skill sets standing with her. So the fact that I have confidence in my training partners, my coaches have that much confidence in me, it just gives me that much more confidence. So it could be anywhere.
All right, Ashley, let me ask you this question. I said I had one last question. I got one more. Who's your favorite sports team?
Well, it was the Colts until I moved from Indiana, and everybody left the Colts at that time.
How about a basketball team? Do you have a basketball team or a hockey team?
I don't really follow hockey, but basketball, Pacers, man. I'm Indiana through and through.
Okay, so there you go. So, guys, bet on Ashley win and then parlay the Pacers. That's the best I can get out of her. Parlay the Pacers. Ashley, I want to wish you good luck in this fight, good luck in all future fights, and hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we got one more segment. We'll stick around. We're talking about someone I believe is going to be a star in the future. All right, guys, we are back. We're in the final segment of this week's MMA Past, Present, and Future. Before I get to our last guest, I want to thank our two previous guests, former UFC title challenger Nate Marquardt, who is surprisingly making a comeback, and, of course, Ashley Yoder, who we just spoke to, who's taking on Angela Hill this Saturday. But before she fights on Saturday, I got to talk about a guy who's fighting on Friday on a card, LFA 101, which is titled Undefeated. The reason why it's undefeated is there's 14 fighters currently on the card that has an undefeated record, and the guy I'm about to talk to is one of the 14 fighters. He's taken on Rashad Robinson. He is Alden Coria. Alden, undefeated on the undefeated card, man. How you feeling, brother?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling ready. I just got done with my sprints, and I'm ready to go. I've put in a 6-week camp before this. They pushed it back about 3 weeks, and they're just giving me more time to prepare for this. So
yeah.
Ready to put up.
So yeah, let's talk about that. So I saw that you were scheduled to take on Rashad Robinson like three or 4 weeks ago. Why did that get canceled?
Because I live in Texas, so we had the snowstorm, and then they were canceling a bunch of flights. So
yeah. So you can probably tell from my accent, I'm from Southern New England.
Oh, really?
And we would have had a show anyways. I don't know about the snow, No, I'm only kidding. My partner that I do the recap show, he's from Houston, so he's from your neck of the woods. I know it was really bad out there. So everything, you guys are okay? Everything's good?
Yeah, good. I mean, after a couple of days, the snow melted and everything was kind of back to normal. Yeah,
I know you guys lost power. It was terrible. I know. You know what? Up here in New England, we're prepared for it because, we have generators, we have snow blowers, some people have winter tires. Like, we're used to that. It's not used to it down there in Texas.
It happens.
So let's get right into it. This card is called Undefeated. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You're undefeated as a pro, but you were also undefeated as an amateur, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you, coming into a card that's really stressing your record, does that add any extra pressure to try to remain undefeated?
It doesn't. I just feel like it's another day. I mean, I do this every day. I've done it for every day for the past 10 years. So, I mean, I'm in here working every single day as hard as I can, and the people here push me every day. So,
no,
I mean,
you say the people here. Who are the people? Like, what team? What's the?
Daniel Pineda.
Okay.
In Houston, I have Daniel Pineda, Domingo Pilarte. Both of them are in the UFC,
Sure.
and then I have a bunch of other guys that are around my level that have been training with me for the past 10 years, always pushing me, taking me to the next level.
Yeah, it's definitely be good to be surrounded by a guy like you just mentioned, Daniel Pineda. The guy's been around fighting at a high level for a really long time, so it's good to have someone with that much experience, kind of, sharing their experience with you, investing in you. That's always good. Let's talk about if someone didn't know you. So this show is called Past, Present, Future. So this is more like an introduction. What would you say is your biggest strength right now? And then a two-part question. I know the second part is always a tougher part. What is the area that you need to improve, that you want to, or you would like to improve to make yourself a better fighter on the next level?
I would say my best attribute in fighting is my adaptability. I'm always ready to take on a challenge. Wherever they put me, I'm ready to go. I can adjust. I can fix where I'm at. I can turn the situation around completely wherever we're at.
Okay.
And what was the second part of the question?
The second part is like, what would you say? And I don't mean this as a weakness, but maybe there's one area like I'd like to improve. Maybe it's my distance striking. Maybe it's my my double leg. My whatever. What's like one area that you say, if I'm going to be successful at the next level, this is the area that I need to improve?
I would actually say probably my striking. I'm actually training with at Heritage Muay Thai with Michael Chase Corley, so I think I'm getting there. They're really pushing me. They're really showing me where to improve, what I need to improve on, and they're really trying to take my striking to the next level. So I would say my striking is definitely that attribute that I need to work on the most, and I think I'm actually getting there. If I'm going to get to the next level, it's definitely at Heritage Muay Thai.
Yeah, so when I've scouted out this fight between you and Mr. Robinson, it seems like you're it's kind of stereotype, but striker versus grappler. He's going to want to keep it on the hands. He got some pretty fast hands. You got tons of submissions on your pro record, on your amateur record. I just watched one of your fights where you had a nice, sweet back take. Like, that said, should I expect to see some of that improved stand-up in this matchup?
You definitely should. I would say he's probably going to be the first one to shoot in this fight.
Okay.
I'm going to put it on him on this fight. He's not going to know what to expect. One of my own teammates has already finished him in the striking department, so I feel like if my teammate can do that, then
you can do the same.
Yes, sir.
So you're both from the similar area. You're both from Texas. You both came up on I know you both fought in Fury FC before moving over to LFA. Like you said, your teammate fought him, so you're pretty familiar with this guy, right?
Yes, sir.
So what do you think about him as fighter? Like, how do you feel like you guys match up?
I would say we match up poorly on his side. His striking is not all that fast. He just really tries to throw everything into that one, tries to get that one punch power. I think I have the fight IQ over him. I know when I need to change the game up, when I need to either take it down or keep it standing, just make it harder for him. I feel like he has to adapt for me. I have so many aspects in the game that I don't feel like he's ready for me.
Yeah. So now you'd win this matchup. You'd continue being undefeated, both as a pro, as an amateur. How far away do you think you are to that next step, to a call up to, say the UFC? You know, LFA has a great relationship with the UFC. There's a lot of veterans from the LFA in the UFC. A lot of them doing extremely well in the UFC, or maybe a main card. You know, getting a contract with Bellator, exclusive contract, or wherever. Like, how far away is it? One win? Is it 2 wins? Are you ready now? Like, what do you think?
I would say 1 or 2 more wins after I get this win. I really want Victor Altamirano. I want that title shot. I'm 4-0, and I mean Victor Altamirano is the same thing for me. Like I haven't seen anything special about him. I think I could go in there and finish him too. I want to show what a is. I want to show that I'm here to take it to the next level. So I'd say 1 or 2 more fights.
Now, is the plan to get the win? You're on the main card. You're going to be televised. Is the plan to get the win, get on the mic, and call your shot?
Oh yes, sir, definitely.
All right. You know what they say, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. You know what I mean? Sometimes you gotta call out what you want. You said 1 or 2 wins. Would you be interested in a contender series, something like that? Is that something you're looking forward, or you want to go right to the UFC?
I would say right to the UFC, but I mean, I'm not gonna pick and choose what they give me. I mean,
sure.
They want series, I'm just gonna take it.
Contender series. What about Ultimate Fighter? Would you be interested in something like that? I know they're not doing the flyweights, but
definitely
8 weeks in the house.
Yeah, I would definitely be interested in that. I feel like that'd be a lot of fun. I mean, I'm here with my teammates trash talking all the time, so I feel like it would just be better there because, I mean, that's just kind of what the show is: trash talking and fighting.
So we're starting to run out of time, but let me ask you this: so LFA is a not trying to insult, but it's a feeder system. It's something that they like to promote themselves. That they're the the AAA. This is the NFL draft type kind of coverage where the combine where you can see the next level, the next highlight guys. When the more of a hardcore fans, the casual fans aren't watching LFA, but the hardcore fans are. What are the hardcore fans going to be saying? What am I going to be writing about you? What is Sean Bitter, who's big into prospect? What are we going to be saying about you Saturday morning after this event?
That he's ready for the next level. That he's ready for Victor Altamano. He's ready to take that belt, and he's ready to get that shot at the UFC or a Contender Series, Bellator, one championship, whatever big shows want me. I think I'm ready for that step.
If your opponent watched this interview, what message would you give him?
He just better be ready. I'm ready to take it anywhere he is. My cardio's on the next level, my striking's on the next level, and then my ground game's on the next level. So he better find a way to get me finished, get me out of there, because I'm coming to fight.
My last question for you: give me an official prediction. How do you win? What round?
First round, TKO, either on the ground or standing.
There you guys have it. First round TKO from Mr. Coria. Ladies and gentlemen, that was our guest. I wish you good luck this Friday on UFC Fight Pass. Make sure you check it out as he takes on Rashad Robinson. Good luck to you, sir, in this fight and all future fights. Hope you get that flyweight title shot, and then we'll see you on the Contender Series or something after that.
Thank you.
All right, there you go, guys. There is all our guests. I want to thank him one more time. I also want to thank Nate Marquardt and Ashley Yoder. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Head over to the Sherdog YouTube page. And we'll be back next week. We have another loaded lineup. I can't announce it yet because we're still working on some details. But make sure to check it out. Thanks for watching MMA Past, Present, and Future.